We're driving the four-door Ford Bronco Sasquatch package that we bought in early August of 2021. Click here if you want to watch us review our Bronco.
After a few months of ownership, we did a video talking about all the issues we had with our Bronco. This is an update on what's been fixed and what hasn't. As you may recall, the soft top in operation has very narrow clearances between it and the backside of the roll bar back there, and I thought we had some scrapes on there. As it turns out, after I went up and cleaned it, that was actually just gunk from the pads that Ford had already put on there to prevent scrapes. So I cleaned that off, but a dude named Jason from VIP Auto Accessories in St. Louis shot me a message and was like, hey, you want to try out our little protective film kit? Sure. So Jason sent me the kit and I installed it. I'm kind of an idiot, so I got a little bit of bubble action in one of them, but they smartly provide 2 films for each side. The install was actually super easy, even for an idiot like me, just spraying and cleaning and using a squeegee to get bubbles out and stuff. Long story short, I used the film kit, and that does seem to prevent the scraping that we were concerned about. So yeah, that seems like a fixed issue, though kind of a, I don't know, should we have to fix that? That said, if you'd like to install that protection yourself, I'm not getting paid to say this, but the kit seems to work just fine, and I checked on VIP Auto Accessories website, and they're charging $25 for it. So if you're concerned about scrapes on your roll bar and your Bronco soft top, feel free to get that kit. Problem fixed, kind of. Sweetie, can you describe the issue we had with our backup camera?
So every so often when I turn on the backup camera, it will look like, have you seen Stranger Things? It will look like the Upside Down. Everything will be very staticky and the colors will be all off. It only happens every once in a while, but it's very annoying.
Yeah, so I took the Bronco to the dealership nearest us, and they could not replicate the intermittent issue. No. Yeah, of course. That's the nature of an intermittent issue. And the service advisor actually mentioned that they have similar problems with the backup cameras on Explorers and Expeditions. So I think this is a broad Ford issue, and I suspect that it's going to be the kind of thing that I have to go back a few different times to have them eventually figure out to get it solved. I will say that the second time I went, they actually looked at it, and they got an error code that the lens was dirty. Again, no. We live in the mountains, that's not surprising. But they cleaned the lens, but they could not replicate the issue. We're gonna put that one in problem purgatory. We solved this issue last time, but our Bronco came with sort of an angled keypad. So we solved that last time. I relocated it to the fuel door, and you'll be happy to know the Bronco hasn't exploded yet. Well, some people thought that by putting a little electronic device underneath the door, that the gas cover that covers the gas filler, that they thought that the Bronco might explode. But in the previous video, which you can click up here to see, I explained why that's silly.
Why?
Well, sweetie, you'll have to click on the video.
I thought it would be dangerous, like a kitten playing with matches. But it turns out it's actually not likely to start a fire, like a kitten playing with matches.
So, angled keypad, fixed. Speaker buzz. Okay, you might remember me railing about how the woofer near my left foot was causing this buzz, and it was like intermittent. Sometimes it would be there, and it was only on like kind of big bass hits. And it was really driving me crazy as an audio guy. So I wanted to give the dealership an opportunity to fix it. So I mentioned it when I took it to the dealership, the nearest one to us, which is Fairview Ford in San Bernardino, and they couldn't replicate the issue. So, knowing that it's probably a really simple issue, I decided to investigate myself. I gave them a chance. I assumed it was going to be like the little speaker grate that maybe was vibrating or something. That's the kind of thing I've seen before. So I went to Joann's Fabric. So I waited in line with a bunch of middle-aged women and eventually got myself these felt pads. I figured like I could place those and that would keep it from vibrating. Lo and behold, when I went in there to install the felt pads, I discovered something. The problem was tape. There was just some extra tape, like somewhere along in the install process, there was just a little piece of tape, and it was just pushing up against the speaker. And I found that out after 30 seconds of investigation. There's literally just 2 retainer clips holding the speaker grate in place. You just pull it back. All they would have had to do was pull the little speaker grate back and be like, ooh, I found the problem, it's the tape. Instead, I was the guy making the stupid voice getting the tape. If it feels like I'm getting worked up over this, I am, because it was so impossibly easy, and the slightest bit of effort to address a customer complaint would have found that out. I know, right? My 6-year-old gets it. To me, a little bit of tape somewhere where it shouldn't be isn't really an indictment of the vehicle, but it is kind of an indictment of the people that were supposed to fix the vehicle. I will say that the speaker buzz is fixed. Oh, I've listened at loud volume, and that thing does not buzz anymore. Fixed, but annoyingly fixed. In the previous video, I talked about a quality, in fact I'll demonstrate it here, where in accelerating out of a corner, the steering wheel would continue pulling to the left, but it would not continue pulling to the right. I brought that up to the dealership. They could not replicate it. We're sensing a theme here. To their credit though, what I've noticed is that as the tread has worn down and we've put more miles, we have over 7,000 miles now on our Bronco, that tendency has basically gone away. It's so minor now as to, I think, be essentially unnoticeable. So I think that was a quirk of the tread, and I'll keep an eye on it, but I would say that the problem has sort of fixed itself. So I'm gonna say fixed, sorta. Another big issue that was bothering me, mentioned it in the last video, was this whistling that was happening in the Bronco. Somebody in the comment section helpfully noted, like, it's a soft top, of course it's gonna be loud. Again, no yeah, I know it's a soft top, but this is a whistling, a specific known issue with the Ford Bronco, and there are two sources of the whistling. One is a mirror whistle, which we didn't really have. It felt like it was coming from this region. And the other one, there is a technical service bulletin for a hood seal. So I went in, mentioned the whistling, they looked it up, they found, oh yeah, your Bronco, which was built in, I believe it was July 17th, no, July 15th, was right before they changed to the new hood seal. So there's a service bulletin for it, they ordered the part, they installed the part, and even though we're on windy mountain roads here, I can attest to the fact that I drove on the freeway at legal speeds, the whistle is gone.
And is this the first problem that you did not have to solve?
Yes!
Yay!
Yay! We solved a problem with the dealership. Woo! Yeah, I know we normally do high fives at the end, but I think that deserves a little bit of 5 action up front here. Yeah! By the way, newer build Broncos shouldn't be affected by that whistling sound. They have updated the hood seal, so I think it's a small batch of the early build Broncos, and ours is solved. Oh, for my sanity, I'm glad that is fixed. The experience of having our Bronco fixed has brought something to mind, which is, I've got some dealer thoughts. Number one, the dealership we bought from, Norm Reeves Ford in Cerritos, California, was amazing. Were they not amazing?
They were so great. Everyone we spoke to was helpful, on top of it, awesome. They
didn't charge us massive fees. We paid MSRP for a vehicle. Somebody asked you the other day, would you pay over MSRP? The answer, zero. Thank you, Norm Reeves Ford. And also I went there for tow hitch, and the parts department was awesome. Great dealership. Our other dealership, I mentioned him earlier, Fairview Ford. The first visit, I will say that my service advisor, very friendly, he seemed like he was trying to be helpful, but as an entire entity, it didn't feel like they went the extra mile to figure out the problems, as indicated by how easily I figured out the speaker buzz. And what's odd is that the second visit, they seemed much more attentive. They took some of my issues a little bit more seriously. They investigated the backup camera more than just saying it didn't do it. And I don't want to assume anybody knows who I am, but I wondered, do they know who I am? Like, maybe they altered their approach because perhaps they know that I review cars for a living, either for Kelley Blue Book or for this channel. Whatever it was, the second experience was somewhat better, but the total experience was a little bit uneven. What I would say is that if you're buying a Ford Bronco, I really like the Bronco, but make sure you're very confident in the dealer, both in terms of buying and in terms of maintaining.
Your dealer experience may vary.
It certainly may. And I will say the reason why we bought from one dealer and have had service at another is because that dealer was the nearest one when we lived there, and we've moved to a completely different location. So yeah, so I mean, it's a very long drive for us to Cerritos, but depending on the problem, it might be worth it. One other note, and it feels petty, but it's kind of not. The dealership at Fairview Ford doesn't have Wi-Fi.
What?
It was 2021 when I went there the first time, 2022 the second time. It is insane that the dealership doesn't have Wi-Fi for waiting customers who may need to perform work while they're waiting for their vehicles. All right, let's wrap up with some final thoughts. One thing I noted is that our previous video talking about our issues with the Bronco kind of became like the Bronco dunk zone. Yeah, that thing sucks. Look at all those crazy, terrible issues that Bronco has. From my perspective, if those problems are solvable, and they're not major in terms of major inconveniences, then they're kind of not that big of a deal to me. To my mind, every vehicle has issues. I guess a lot of people who are very anti-Bronco might also be like pro-Wrangler or pro-4Runner. And what I'd like to note is that if you look at the, let's say the Wrangler, if you go back, 2021 was an okay year, only had 1 recall, but if you go to 2020, there were like 4 recalls. Sorry, I said 4, I meant 5 recalls for the Wrangler. And then you're probably thinking, well, I have a Toyota 4Runner. The 4Runner was introduced in 2010. It's been around for, well, you can do the math, but if you look at the 2021 was a pretty clear year, but if you look at 2019, there were 4 recalls on the 4Runner. 2 of those issues were no big deal. It was like labeling issues on the vehicle, but 2 of them, one of them was like a fuel pump and the other one had to do with suspension failure concerns because of like hardware or something like that. That's not me dunking on the 4Runner. That's me just simply pointing out that vehicles are very complicated and every vehicle has problems. If you don't like the Bronco, that's fine. And you know what? I might not like the Bronco too. If we have major mechanical issues, the transmission explodes like people predict, or the tiny little 4-banger that's powering us around this corner so swiftly, if any of those things start failing with regularity, yeah, I might join you in the anti-Bronco squad. But so far, I really like the Bronco. It's been great. What do you think?
I agree. And I think you have a really educated perspective on how often vehicles fail because you drive a lot of different vehicles and you've seen problems in a lot of them. So it's not a surprise to you.
Yeah, we bought a first-year vehicle. Everybody says don't buy that. The entire point of this video series and buying this thing was to have a first-year vehicle and see what happens and to share that with you guys. So that's what we're doing. I'm not wedded to the concept of Bronco as the ultimate off-road vehicle, but it's been great for us. If you have another off-road vehicle that you love, I love that too.
There's room for all of our love.
There really is.
For me, I wanted something that was a balance between being reasonably comfortable on-road and really capable off-road. So this seems like the vehicle that fits that category the best for me. So I'm willing to accept a few problems.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Are we crazy for loving our Bronco with all of its many problems? If so, tell us in the comments. For right now, though, I think we've solved most of the biggest vexing issues. The sounds that were slowly driving me crazy are no longer driving me crazy, but if anything big goes bad or anything small goes wrong, we will be sure to share it with you.
And if you'd like to follow along with our Bronco journeys, please subscribe.
You're also welcome to follow us on Instagram if you're curious what we're doing between YouTube videos. Family, I think we've done a pretty good job explaining how the problems on our Bronco are getting smaller and why we still love it. May I have 5s? And you, come get your high 5.